this is very different. This is only maybe my third or fourth saltwater swim. And there's some big differences between saltwater and freshwater, of course. Saltwater is more buoyant, and it also there's current and wind and waves, things that you can have in a lake, but it's a lot different in the ocean. So on Lake George last year for that 22 hours, I had the flattest, quietest day that you could possibly have in a lake, and we had a lot more, I'd say, dynamic conditions yesterday. And I'm really grateful for that, because that was sort of what I wanted to get in an experience like this, was just to see what would happen.
Then I'm happy for you. Let's look at challenges. What challenges did you face during this swim, and how did you overcome them?
Challenges. Just continuing to keep going. It's a challenge, but I felt so supported and so loved and encouraged. I did self-inquiry periodically of like, well, should I stop? And there was nothing in me that said, oh, yeah, you should stop now. I should grab onto the boat, which in marathon swimming, if you touch the boat, then it's still a swim, but it's not official. And there was just never any moment in me that I was like, I need to quit now. I wanted to get to the point on the other end. And so, but it was a challenge, I'd say, from about halfway up, when I thought I was only 5 or 6 hours, but then there was 5 or 6 hours a few more times. So it's hard to, there was a jellyfish sting, but it was, I have lots of, I've talked to a lot of marathon swimmers. I think that's a common question. Yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned the jellyfish bite. How did you manage that during the swim?
Well, I learned from the marathon swimming community just the different tips and tricks for how to endure things like that. One of the swimmers I interviewed many years ago, or a few years ago, I think he said he thinks of the energy of the jellyfish as, or that the sting gives him energy to channel into his swim. And so I was very much just trying to channel Neil, the guy that I had interviewed. I also was speaking to the ocean of like, okay, I'm good. I don't need any more of those. And luckily I just had the one, and it's mostly gone now.
Okay, wonderful. So we know that you also host the... We know that you also host the Marathon Swim Stories podcast. Outside of dealing with jellyfish bites, how has other swimmers helped you in this journey?
The marathon swimming community is amazingly open, welcoming, approachable. The world record holders are the kind of people that I can send a message to, because I told them I'm coming for this really long, salty swim. What should I do about things like your tongue gets really swollen from swimming in the salt water? And they'll respond to you. Like, they're just amazing, amazing people. I'm honored to be a part of the community. And it's been an amazing gift to interview the swimmers and give their stories back out to the world, because I think otherwise they would all just be held up and nobody would ever know, because we all learn so much. No matter what, you're going to learn something about yourself or about the conditions, or you're going to learn something along the way. You can't know everything, and that's a big part of the surrender going into a marathon swim, is like, I have no idea whether I'm going to finish or not. I have no idea what's going to happen, but I'm just gonna go figure it out. I'm just going to go try and see what happens. And yet every single interview I've had, I've learned something from someone about their mindset, or their or how they prepared for something, or just like there's the little tools and tricks that you can kind of put in your belt, as we talk about having our tool belt that we bring into a swim, and then you get more along the way. The podcast has been an invaluable resource, I guess, for me myself. I get the gift of speaking to these beautiful, amazing swimmers, as well as giving that gift out back to the community.
Wonderful. So you've swum in various locations around the world. What makes swimming in Dominica's water unique?
It is just gorgeous. I wish that I could play the water in the morning, the way that the sun was bouncing off of the light, and just, I mean, it was just like, I didn't want to breathe. I just wanted to keep looking at those patterns, and the light is just beautiful. And I saw there was dolphins. I got to swim with the dolphins.
Awesome.
And there's some little fish that joined me for the journey. And it's really warm and comfortable, but I was afraid of getting hot, and I didn't ever get hot. I was never uncomfortable temperature-wise. And then there's just the beauty of the island, and then even just the expanse of the sea. But I guess I felt safe and comfortable, and it was a beautiful experience. I highly encourage other marathon swimmers to come and check out the waters here in Dominica.
So Dominica plans to establish the world's first marine whale reserve. Now currently we are home to about 200 sperm whales, who we affectionately refer to as citizens. As someone who has spent considerable time in our waters, what are your thoughts about this initiative?
It's amazing. It sounds amazing to me to have a whale reserve. I wish that I heard that there was whales, that I saw whales on the horizon. I think I heard clicking of whales, but I didn't get to see one. I think that's an amazing opportunity for swimmers to be able to come and swim in a location like that.
And can you tell us more about your work with Interpret Waters Adventure Swimming, and how does it align with your personal goals and values?
I am the founder of Intrepid Water Adventure Swimming, and I created. It started out as I wanted to help people find out what they're capable of in the water. I think a lot of times we get stuck in our stories and we limit ourselves, and I think just having a person that can coach you and help you open your mind to the possibilities of what we each as individuals can do, and how that can be enriching it in our life. And it aligns with my goals and values, because I'm trying to live a life of finding out what I'm capable of, and so endeavoring to swim 66 kilometers when I had no idea whether I could or not. I'm still looking to see what's possible.
Okay, that's great. So as a renowned marathon swimmer, what advice would you give to aspiring swimmers?
Aspiring swimmers, if you're just starting out, you can start at any time. You don't have to have learned as a child. You don't have to. Anybody at any time in our life, we're humans. We're live wired. We can learn for our entire lives. So I would say just start. Start with your breath. Start with focusing on breathing deep into your belly and exhaling out your nose. We have a lot of instincts to overcome as humans in the water. Because we try to survive instinctively. We try to survive when we're in the water, and so we need to calm our nervous system and tell ourselves it's okay. And the way we do that is through our breath, and then explore what it feels like to be in the water. Just think of it as a little experiment. It's like float and push the water behind you, and notice if you push the water this way, how it sends you that way, and if you push the water this way, how it sends you that way. And just take the time to experiment and explore what it feels like to be in the water, and the water will give you feedback. It will tell you which way you're going. So just take the time to calm yourself and explore your body in the water.
You mentioned earlier about what you saw underneath the water and your view as you were swimming. So let's talk more about our weather and how it influenced you. So how has the Caribbean's warm weather and the natural beauty influence your experience here in Dominica?
It is very warm, which I'm not used to. But how has it influenced
How has it influenced your experience here in Dominica? The warm weather, the natural beauty of our island.
Yeah. think it's really, so much of open water marathon swimming is embracing the world that we live in, that is 70% water, and watching the moon set and the sun rise, like you feel like you can feel the earth turn. And so to be able to be on the nature island and be in the nature, the watery nature that surrounds your island was just, it was beautiful experience.
And what's next for Shannon Keegan? Any more marathon swims in sight?
I don't have anything specifically on the radar, but I don't anticipate stopping discovering what I'm capable of in the water.
That's excellent. And I will ask this final question. How are you feeling now?
I'm feeling uplifted and inspired by what has been suggested, that I was inspiring other people, but it's inspiring me. So thank you.
Well, Shannon, thank you very much for responding to my questions. At the end, I'll open up the floor to the media for questions. And I'll move on to you, Mr. Weston Moses. Can you share with us the inspiration behind orchestrating this historic event?
Sure. First, let me thank the DDA and the Ministry of Tourism just for all the support given to this event, and coming here and highlighting this historic event. It's a pleasure to have you here in the center. This is the first event of the kind that we've had here. So what inspired me was, I've been an open water swimmer for over a decade now. I've been swimming my whole life. I love swimming. I swim, I free dive, I kayak, but swimming is my favorite. So in 2017, I was living in St. Lucia, and Molly Nance made an attempt to swim from St. Lucia to Martinique. In this attempt, she ended up being the first woman to do the swim. Jacques Sicot from Martinique was the first person to swim that channel in the 80s. He did it from Martinique to St. Lucia, and I believe he swam to Dominica also, but I'll have to look that up. I've heard of somebody who swam to the Martinique channel, and I believe it's him, but I'll do some more research. So I was a part of the team when I heard about it. I saw it on Instagram. I messaged a person immediately. I knew that open water swimmers needed kayakers. I'm an avid kayaker, and I volunteered my services to be a part of the team. They took me on board, and I accompanied Molly in the dark for the first 5 hours. We left at about 3 a.m., and so I was her sole partner in it. We had a catamaran as the guide boat, and it was just me and Molly for 5 hours, and it was just a beautiful experience to see her. They just don't stop, and Molly's motto is one stroke at a time, and they make it look so graceful, they make it look so easy. I just automatically fell in love with marathon swimming. A marathon swim is anything over 10 kilometers, so I think I'm going to do like 10.5 when I do my first. But we have hopes. I have hopes to do my first one here, and I just fell in love with the sport. Molly and Shannon are very much alike. They're just very humble, grateful, graceful people, and they don't give up, and they make it look easy and graceful. Although as a swimmer, I know it's not, but they do a great job.
So what are some of the biggest challenges you and your team faced in planning and executing this event?
Well, the planning went along pretty well. Waitukubuli Adventures was glad to jump on board to provide the boat, and really helped out, because that can be they're used to chartering a boat for a day, and here we are, we wanted 24 hours. So they were very useful. That came together. We got great food here, so we put together a lot of really good food, and working with Shannon was quite easy. We've been talking for several years, so the conversations went really well. We're pretty like-minded in our approach to things, so that was smooth as well. The execution went very well, but there were some challenges. She faced an ingoing tide and an outgoing river at Layu, and it took her quite a while. And you know, you want to tell someone they're halfway, but it takes them 2 hours to get through the halfway mark. The halfway mark, it's very hard as a coach. It's very hard. You're very invested in this, and that was I think mentally that was harder than anything for us. Further up north at night, we had passed. We were coming up to Cabritz and Douglas Bay, and at Point Round, it was flat. It was beautiful. It was so nice. And then all of a sudden, a 15-knot wind came through Douglas Bay out of nowhere. It hit us, and Freddie had just done 2 kayaking shifts because the other kayaker needed some rest, and we had to give Shannon her feed at that moment. And this is not something we practiced, to be doing this in 15-knot winds with chop and everything. But Freddie and Dwayne are both experienced kayakers. We've been on the Atlantic, we've been in the Martinique Channel, and they handled it beautifully, and we pulled it off. And you have to understand, like, for us, time is of the essence as her team, because if in exchanges like that, if they take 5 minutes instead of 1, you do that 5 times, you've just added on that much more time to her swim. So we took it very seriously, how to be efficient and how to take care of Shannon the best we could. And there were a lot, I could go into detail, there were a lot of things that happened in that moment, but we pulled it off, yeah.
I know that HHVW Church was a support for this initiative. Can you tell us about their role in this event?
We didn't want this just to be about marathon swimming. We wanted to add an ecological component, so I approached them. One of the biggest problems we have right here, there's a stream right over there, and every morning we're picking up plastic on the beach, every morning. After a heavy rain, even if there's no rain, we're picking up plastic. So when National Geographic was down here doing the pristine seas, we got to know them, we were taking out kayaking, and they pointed me in the direction of some low-cost systems to catch that floating plastic before it gets in the sea. So I approached them. They said they were fully on board with that, and we may be doing a few little extras to help do it, because as you know, we're in the city every day for our business, and we like to be good stewards of the ocean. So, you know, you would notice they haven't promoted it a lot on their Facebook page, but they had a lot going on, and what they told us, they said, Wes, you know, sometimes it's not about the promotion and getting the recognition, but it's doing what's right for your country. And so they'll probably be a lot more active involved promoting these low-cost solutions than they were in the actual promotion of the swim.
That's wonderful. How do you see this event impacting Dominica's position as an eco-destination for adventure tourism?
Oh, that's easy. I think it just adds value. It's value added. It's just one more thing that Dominica has to offer. It's a real niche, and it's a beautiful niche. I mean, listening to Shannon earlier, she talks about swimming differently than most people I've ever met. And even just talking about her stroke, she uses terminology that I've never thought of or heard anybody else say with regards to swimming. So I think it's a very unique niche, and we really want to get a lot more marathon swimmers here. And not just the Sea Trail, but both of the channels. We'd love to see Martinique Channel happen. That's where our conversations happened initially. And Shannon said she was coming down this time of year. I said, I don't know if it's the best time of year to do the channel. I said, but we've got the Sea Trail. I never expected her to come back and say, okay, I'm going to do the whole Sea Trail. But that was a pleasant surprise, and I mean, we prepared for it, yeah.
Okay, so can you share a memorable moment from the event that stood out to you?
Oh, when those dolphins swam past Shannon. I mean, yeah. I've been calling her Molly because Molly, she runs so much of Molly. But yeah, when those dolphins swam past Shannon, I think dolphins are very intelligent creatures, animals, and they're very intuitive. And there's no doubt in my mind that they knew something was happening, and they swam past her, and they swam right underneath her. Yeah.
Oh, wow. And can you, or rather, following this achievement, how do you envision the future of open water swimming events in Dominica?
Well, you know, open water swimming event can be less than 10 kilometers. So my dream has always been to have an across the bay, you know, Soufriere Bay challenge. And in that day, we could have somebody go, you know, a group go there and back, drop some off, as Scott said, let them swim across. We could have several races. We could easily, you know, for the kids, swim around the dive boat over there and come back. We could just have a, you know, an open water swim day. You look at Barbados. Barbados has an open water swim week. There's no reason why we can't do the same. The Swim Channel event in St. Lucia is a week-long series of swimming events, with the Channel Swim being, you know, kind of the highlight of it. So I would like to see us move in that direction as well.
Okay, great. Now, what advice would you give to others who wish to organize a similar events like the one you did in the future?
A marathon swim?
Yes.
Get to know marathon swimming. Get to know it. It's different. It's very, very different, and it's something you need to understand and embrace. Yeah, listen to Marathon Swim Stories.
The podcast.
Her podcast. Start listening to that. Visit one, try and participate in one. If I had never volunteered as a kayaker, I don't think I could have pulled it off, because I intimately got to know what was happening. And then the next year, I kayaked across the channel while there were 2 individuals who crossed and a relay team. They picked me up, and then we brought in everybody else. So yeah, you have to live it.
And Shannon, you mentioned the podcast. How can persons find your podcast online?
Any podcast provider, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, it's out there on all of our Marathon Swim Stories. Or you can go to marathonswimstories.com.
marathonswimstories.com. That's it? So Wes, what's next for the Soufriere Outdoor Center? I heard a few whispers, but pray tell, what's going on?
Well, we've got a lot going on. We're putting the final touches on a map, a free digital map of the sea trail with all of the information on the back, we're gonna whet somebody's appetite to do it. So, I mean, right now I have 2 experienced kayakers who just contacted me today who want to do the trail on their own, no problem. But we also have 4 commercial tours coming up this year. And then we are also working on signage for each segment. So the kayakers will be able to see probably about a 4-foot by 3-footer long, actually maybe even 8 feet wide Waitukubuli sign, and then it'll have like an interpretive sign with a little bit about that village, maps of the segment before and after there, and maybe a QR code that will take you to a website that will maybe tell you what's in the area, something that's easily updated. And then once that's done, we're going to move to phase 2 of the sea trail, which is the full circumnavigation of the island. That way we can attract more intermediate and advanced kayakers to come do the circumnavigation. Myself and my business partner, Carrie, we've done it together, and then I've done it solo as well. So I think the beauty of it is the warm waters. We've heard Shannon say it's warm. A lot of kayaking takes place in England, where there's lots of tides, Canada, Vancouver. These are very popular kayaking destinations. And we had some kayakers who we took out on the Atlantic. It was Freddie's first week of kayaking, and Freddie handled it like a gem. These kayakers said it was the biggest conditions they'd ever been in their life. And they can't push the envelope like we do here because they're afraid of cold water exposure. Cold water exposure as a kayaker, you fall in there, you have 5 minutes to get back in before you start possibly having hypothermia. So we are in a great position in the Caribbean. The whole reason the channel swim got started in St. Lucia is because there was a skinny guy who couldn't do the English Channel because it's too cold for him, and he refused to wear a wetsuit because that's not just within marathon swimming. You just don't do that, So he looked for a similar distance, and he found the St. Lucia Channel on Google Earth. He started networking, and next thing you know, the groups, we started coming together, and the next thing you know, Molly heard about it, and then Molly did it, and he made an attempt, but unfortunately he had very bad conditions and injured his shoulder halfway through, so he wasn't able to do it. But these warm waters that we have, it's a blessing for these products. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for allowing me to interview you, Moses, and of course you, Shannon. I know persons like Emmeline Ansel, would be happy to swim So Emma, we see you very soon.
Pretty soon on a boat.
Come down for a lesson.
All right, so at this juncture, we entertain questions from the media. Questions will go first to Shannon and then to Weston. Any questions?
How did you hear about Dominica?
The miracle of the internet. I put a post out on a Facebook group about an open water swimming group about where should I have an open water swim camp, and this fine gentleman responded and said, "Come to Dominica. I have a guest house," and that was 4 or 5 years ago, and we've stayed in touch ever since. And there was a pandemic in between. We were going to come a lot sooner, but this was when we were able to get here.
Will you be able to promote Dominica after your stay here?
Absolutely. I coach a lot of swimmers virtually around the world. Not everybody is suited for the English channel, as you mentioned, as maybe a skinny guy. It's a beautiful. The waters here are amazing, and I think it's a beautiful destination for anybody who wants to come and test their limits, or even just to get more comfortable in the water. Even as a coach, there's limitations on teaching people when you get cold, your body starts shutting down and you can't learn anymore. So having warm water allows the learning process to just go a lot better. So it's a great place to teach people how to swim as well.
Apart from our warm water, what has been other highlights of your stay here in Dominica?
Oh, the people have just been amazing. it's been really. It's a beautiful country, and I wish I'd seen more of it, but I saw a lot of the water, and that is definitely my element. So, yeah.
Any other questions?
Yeah. Can you tell us what feedbacks have you received since this event in Dominica? Feedbacks from the international community after this event in Dominica?
Well, the majority of the feedback I'll start with has been from Dominica. When we put up that post asking for inspiration to Shannon, our Instagram was flooded. And I had messages coming in, replies to stories, comments, and it took 2 feeds to tell her just a few of the inspiration. I will say internationally, today I had a kayak tour with an 80-year-old woman, and her daughter's an open water swimmer. And she followed the event, and she bought a T-shirt and asked Shannon to sign it. Wow. So if that's any indication of the reception in the open water swimming community, that's a pretty good indicator. Yeah. We haven't really reached out too much in the international community, but I expect we'll be hearing pretty soon. Once the swim is ratified, then I think that's when it'll. I expect we'll get a lot of inquiries coming soon. Yeah.
Ratified by whom, by the way? Ratified by whom?
The Marathon Swimming Federation. Yeah.
Steve, any questions?
Question to Shannon. What created that keen interest in swimming?
And swimming longer distances. I was gifted an inspirational moment where I was doing a much shorter swim, and I watched a woman walk up on the beach who had just completed a 10-mile swim, and it just triggered like this idea in my mind, like that I was really nervous, and I was maybe going to be doing 20 minutes of swimming for my 1 mile, and when I saw this woman just very confidently walk out of the water, she was the first person to complete this 10-mile open water swim. She'd been swimming for about 5 hours, and I just had this moment of like, wow, what would it be like to push off the bottom and just go out and swim and not stop until the shore comes underneath you again? And that was the moment for me that made me just keep going. The next year it was 3 miles, and then 6 miles, and it's just been more and more and more every time. So then I think it's become more just curiosity. Is what be curious. I think that was what I wrote on the shirt. Mm-hmm. Be curious. Yeah. What are you capable of? I don't know. Go look for something.
Just a final question. Yeah, just a final question. I'm aware that during the swim to Capuchin, you had some breaks in between. Can you tell us what do you do during these breaks?
Yeah, I feed every 30 minutes because I have to keep just a carbohydrate drink, like a powder in water, because you need to keep your energy level up. So every 30 minutes, I would get a feed from a bottle, and I just kind of tread water and drink a little bit, and that's my, so every 30 minutes I was taking a break for a couple minutes. We tried, like you said, they add up, so we try to keep them short, but other than I didn't have a break, get out on the boat or anything like that, just 30 minutes treading water. You can't even let the line get taut, like you no assistance from anybody or anything, just to keep the energy level up.
Emonews?
When you got to Capuchin, what was your reaction? I know you must have been tired. Did you scream? Did you say thank God? Did you? What was your reaction like?
There was a lot of build-up. There was a lot of maybe almost it's right there, no it's right there, no it's right there, no it's right there. There was a lot of the Dominican coastline. I wish I'd studied it a little bit better going in. But I think it was just I was glad that it was finally over. But yeah, my mind always goes to the next thing. Well, then what's next? It's just a lot of relief. It was beautiful. It's kind of interesting to me how it mirrors this point down here with the rocks. Like it's almost identical up there, but just the way that Scott's head looks.
Do you have any family member on this trip, Dominica?
Yes, my kids and my husband are bumping around here somewhere. They're probably swimming around in the water.
Question? Any other questions? Emma? Okay, so we've been part of a historic feat in marathon swimming. On behalf of the Ministry of Tourism and the Discover Dominica Authority, I'd like to extend our deepest gratitude to you, Mr. Weston Moses, and your team for your relentless efforts in orchestrating this event. Your hard work has resulted in a successful event, and we appreciate your support and what you did for us in Dominican tourism. And of course, heartfelt thanks goes out to you, Shannon Keegan, whose courage and tenacity has been genuinely inspiring. Your achievements have been, yes, they've been a personal triumph. It also showcases Dominica's potential as a premier destination for adventure tourism. So thank you very much. Now, all those who are viewing in right now, Dominica invites you to explore its Waitukubuli Sea Trail, the first sea trail in the Caribbean. It offers an unparalleled opportunity to witness the island's stunning natural beauty from a unique perspective. So, seize the opportunity to explore our pristine waters and lush landscape and experience the warmth of our people. Shannon did, and you can do as well. So thank you once again for being here this afternoon, and do have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Thank you all for viewing, and congratulations once again to Shannon Keegan.
So we're going to stop for photos. So we're going to move this table forward so we can have some photos.